Good day everyone, I am Asia Velasco, and for the next topic, I am going to discuss the cultural requirements. And here is my topic outline. First, I have here the dietary requirements for children and a cultural practices and beliefs about food provision. Nutrition for kids is based on the same principles as nutrition for adults. Everyone needs the same types of nutrients, such as vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Children, however, need different amounts of specific nutrients at different ages. And here are the list of nutrient-dense food. The first one here is protein. Choose seafood, lean meat, and poultry, eggs, beans, peas, soy products, and unsalted nuts and seeds. And then we have fruits. Encourage your child to eat a variety of fresh, canned, frozen, or dried fruits rather than fruit juice. If your child drinks juice, make sure it's 100% juice without added sugars and limit his or her servings. Look for canned fruits that says it's light or packed in its own juice, meaning it's low in added sugar. Keep in mind that 1/4 cup of dried fruits count as 1 cup equivalent of fruits. When consumed in excess, dried fruits can contribute extra calories. Next is vegetables. Serve a variety of fresh, canned, fruit, or dried vegetables. Aim to provide a variety of vegetables including dark green, red, and orange, beans and peas, starchy, and others each week. When selecting canned or frozen vegetables, look for options lower in sodium. Grains. Choose whole grains or whole wheat bread, oatmeal, popcorn, quinoa, or brown or wild rice. Limit refined grains such as white bread, pasta, and rice. And the last one is dairy. Encourage your child to drink and eat fat-free or low-fat dairy products such as milk, yogurt, cheese, or fortified soy beverages. Now, here is the things to limit your child's calories. Added sugar. Limit added sugars. Naturally occurs sugars such as those in fruit and milk are not added sugars. The example of added sugars includes brown sugar, corn sweetener, corn syrup, honey, and others. Check nutritional labels. Choose cereals with minimal added sugar and avoid drinks with added sugar such as soda and sport energy drinks. Saturated and trans fats. Limit saturated fats. This is fats that mainly comes from animal sources of food such as red meat, poultry, and full-fat dairy products. Look for ways to replace saturated fats with vegetables and nut oils, which provide essential fatty acids and vitamin E. Healthier fats are also natural presents in olives, nuts, avocados, and seafood. Limit trans fat by avoiding foods that contains partially hydrogenated oil. Then we have sodium. Encourage snacking on fruits and vegetables instead of chips and cookies. Check nutrition labels and look for product low in sodium. And now let's discuss the cultural practices and beliefs about food provision. Feeding practices. Caregiver wants to provide children with good nutrition. They prepare foods that children like, try to accommodate requests, encourage children to be healthy. Although caregivers generally share the same goal of supporting the healthy development of children, some caregiver may be inclined to use controlling practices that seem straightforward but harmful to promoting children's health. Example of such controlling practices includes giving children food as a reward, pressuring children to eat or clean their plate, finishing a healthy food before allowing dessert, and restricting unhealthy food. Such practices may seem effective in a short term to get children to eat or try new foods, but they tend to have negative long-term implication. Pressuring or rewarding children to eat different food may lead to negative eating behavior, including disliking the food in the long term, becoming fuzzy, and developing weight issues. For example, if you drink milk, mommy will be happy, or if you eat salad, then you can have dessert. These practices also undermine children's ability to self regulate or their ability to eat when they are hungry and stop eating when they are full. On the other hand, modeling eating healthy foods to children and making fresh fruits and vegetables available and convenient in the household may increase the chances that children will eat healthy foods. The influence of culture in feeding practices. Many factors shape caregivers' beliefs and practices about feeding, and it is important to remember that caregivers of different cultures follow different food related beliefs. The first step in using culturally responsive feeding practices is to recognize one's own cultural beliefs regarding feeding. Parents and other adult caregiver in the family may restrict certain foods due to religious affiliation. Those who follow Islam, for example, do not eat pork and may only eat meat that are halal foods, allowed under only Islamic dietary law. Believers of Hinduism do not consume beef. They may restrict their children's eating for these food items, similar to Jews who may only eat kosher foods. Families from these cultures may observe fasting for a period of days or weeks because of religious traditions. Research shows that families widely differ in their feeding practices and mealtime routines based on their cultural practices. Caregiver can benefit from having this knowledge as they work with families from varied cultural backgrounds. Along with knowledge, caregiver can use different culturally responsive feeding strategies to encourage healthy eating habits among children. This includes the following. First, we have increasing your knowledge about culturally responsive feeding practices. Understand that feeding practices are viewed differently among cultures and that these practices may be deeply rooted in personal experiences, cultural beliefs, parenting norms around socialization, and child expectations. Traditional practices often perceived favorably in one's home culture may be considered good for the children. However, a practice that may be a way of showing affection in one culture may appear as pressuring the child in another. Number two is using culturally responsive language with children. To reflect healthy feeding practices, child caregiver can reframe what they say to elicit healthy child eating behavior as well as accommodate cultural preferences. The following table is some example of positive feeding practices. For example, instead of saying, "You cannot waste your food, children in different parts of the world don't have enough to eat," try to say, "Why don't you start with one scoop of food? If you are hungry, you can have more later." And then, finish all the food in your plate. Try to say, "You can stop eating it if you feel full." And many more example below. Number three is eating family style. Caregivers should consider having family meals where all adults and children sit and enjoy eating the same foods together. This practice can result in a pleasant mealtime and improve children's acceptance of new food. Moreover, shared mealtimes provide an excellent opportunity for adults to model healthy eating habits to children. Number four, following the division of responsibility. During mealtime, caregivers and children are encouraged to implement the division of responsibility. Specifically, the caregiver's responsibility is to decide what, when, and where the food is provided. The children's responsibilities are to decide how much, what, and whether to eat while recognizing their hunger and fullness. Following this division of responsibility helps to build trust between the caregivers and children. Caregivers should provide a structure of the feeding environment while avoiding use of controlling feeding practices with children. The number 5 is watching what you buy and provide a healthy home food environment. As the primary decision makers, caregivers should be conscious of the food environment, specifically the foods they make available to children. Buy more vegetables and fruit and avoid stocking up on high sugar, high fat foods. Identify and suggest ethnic stores in the community where healthy ethnic food options are available. 6 is identifying healthy alternatives to accommodate cultural preferences. Caregivers need to work together in preserving and promoting the home culture by identifying healthy options within the parents' or the family's home culture. Build on family feeding goals by enhancing their knowledge of the dietary guidelines and portion sizes. Also, make culturally relevant suggestions and provide recipes for balancing convenience, nutrition, and variety. This can be achieved by providing nutrition education materials. Number 7 is showing affection by spending quality time together. Caregivers are encouraged to practice alternative ways of displaying affections instead of giving food as a reward or placing excessive restriction on what and how much children can eat. For example, spend quality time with the children by investing in reading books, visiting a library, zoo, or park, or dancing together to a favorite song. Number 8 is taking care of yourself. Caregivers are encouraged to not only ensure that their children are healthy, but also to be mindful of their own health. They should adopt healthy food related practices and engage in physical activity. Children mimic adults, so when they see adults' caregiver trying a variety of food, they will be more likely to try them as well. And for the last one, which is number 9, engaging the family. In all cultures, the whole family, including grandparents, influences children's eating habit. Therefore, CCPs should communicate healthy feeding practices not only to the mother but also to the father and the rest of the family. Doing this will increase awareness of the recommended practices for feeding children. And that will be all for my report. Thank you very much.